again, Irish.
So where are we going now on our journey, Andrew?
We are now going to Glengoyne. This is another 21-year-old.
We're going to Glengoyne.
Another 21-year-old. It's an old malt cask this time as the independent bottler. It's a Highland region whiskey. So I found out that Spey whiskeys can call themselves Highland. They are actually part of the Highland, but it's like Tequila and Mescal. Speyside is a specific region inside of the Highlands. I didn't know that until just yesterday.
Cool.
Or maybe Friday. Still.
So if we drew a Venn diagram, Speyside whiskeys would be a circle within the circle that is Highlands?
Yes. Because awesome. I mean, you know, the Highlands are kind of like everything up here.
Right.
And Spey is just kind of this little region in here around the Spey River and all its tributaries.
So could you say every Speyside is a Highland, but not every Highland is a Speyside?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a 54.7%. It's one of 144 bottles from a refill hogshead. So they've used the hogshead once before. This is the second time they've used it. The single cask was distilled September 96 and bottled June 2018. Think back to what you're doing in September of 1996. These guys were making this bottle for us.
That's wild. That's crazy to think
so
about.
So great.
Yeah. I was founding Dad's Garage Theater at that time. I was in Atlanta, Georgia.
I was in middle school.
Whatever, little baby David. Little baby David.
But look at the beard I can almost grow, right? Oh, man. It's so great.
Yeah.
Not really. I can't really. It's still not. I'm not a real adult.
No, until I was about 40, this just did not grow at all.
Yeah.
Now it can't be stopped.
This little, you know, it's crazy.
I shaved like a couple hours ago, fully shaved, and this is what I've got. This is like
sideburns just came in.
Yeah, including the sideburns. Like, oh, nope. You're just like a vampire, just immediately grows back.
Just, yeah.
This is how your face looks.
This is how I was when I died, and so this is how I will be forever.
That's how it works. All right.
Good. I also have these from these coasters from the Cantina at Star Wars Land.
Oh, that's cool. That's fun.
Ooh, this is fruity.
Yeah.
And it's a lot lighter than the other ones, right? That we've smelled before.
I think in the nose, it's not as yeah. Well, it might be something that opens with water a lot more too.
It might also too be like we kind of, I think like I've noticed I get kind of acclimated to the alcohol as I get through these, and so like the burn is a bit less.
This works, right? What I'm doing, this is how you do this?
You can do that.
You can. Generally you put this on so that it builds up.
Oh, that's fun.
The nose a little bit.
You can also like puff, like this is kind of the opposite. You do a little puff in there, and then it blows off the alcohol. So you're just smelling just kind of the notes. Yeah.
So you turn this thing into kind of like a bong of sorts.
Sure, man.
At the top.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let it sit for a second.
Yeah, I like this. This has some there's some fruitiness in there. Oh.
Ooh.
I feel like this is like a it's like a root cellar with a lot of like pickled fruits. You got like some pears and oranges and and as you go down to the root cellar, like a lot of the jar, like several of the jars have been opened. You can smell them all, like the pickled fruits.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's not as it's not my favorite so far, but it is, maybe because of that description of like, it's like going into a dark root cellar and half of the pickled juices are coming out of their cages. Like, yeah, totally.
Yeah, but kind of the earthen floor, I get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there is, as that was like the descriptor was kind of doing there's some sweet, but there's also some savory stuff going on. Like it's a little bit, not one thing or the other. It's a little bit of all of them.
Now, I don't want to lead the witness because this is not a tasting note that I ever get to, probably because I don't know what it is very much, but on the bottle, they talk about marzipan in the nose.
Oh. Marzipan. But I feel like that's just not a flavor that like Americans would be familiar with. Right. Like we don't eat a lot of marzipan. Like I've eaten it, but I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna go. What day of the week is it? I gotta get my weekly supply of marzipan.
It's what you coat cakes with, right? It's like that hard stuff you.
Yeah, it's a very sugary like right, like isn't it like sponge sugar? Like I also know it from seeing
I'm sorry.
big. Well, yeah, that. but
Malt
also
pan.
the baking show, the Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, they're always covering things with marzipans.
They're always, yeah. Okay, it does have that kind of light, very light sweetness to it. That almost like it's almost like toffee, but like lighter. You know what I mean? I think that's what I get from marzipan, and a bit of vanilla.
Marzipan is almost like it is such a subtle flavor. It's mostly just like a topper. It's a little sweet, but you kind of forget about it. It's not like the main event.
Oh,
yeah.
And I like this. I kind of feel that way. It's like, this is like a nice, interesting one, but it didn't immediately strike like.
Does, like, it's so interesting because the one before was like that syrup, like the ultimate syrup of a snow cone. This tastes like some sort of crunchy candy. Like some sort of, it does that. I get that marzipan. It's some sort of light, crunchy candy, like almost a toffee or something that's just very, 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 very light. You know, like
What are those
spun
little
sugar
candies that like our grandparents gave us that were? Oh man, I'm gonna forget.
Or there's originals, or are you talking about the ribbon candy? The ribbon candy.
But it's even, there was like it wasn't a butterscotch candy, but there was a type of candy. I totally forget. If you said the name, I'd remember it. But like my grandfather gave it to me when I was like a really little kid. And it was like, what the hell is this? How long has this been around? It was like made in the 50s or 40s.
It's not Werther's Originals?
There does have like a butterscotchy thing here.
This does remind me of the ribbon candy like that you would get, that grandparents would have.
Yeah. Overall, the vibe of like old school grandparent candy.
Yeah. So how are we feeling about sciencing this?
I'm still just tasting this without water. Are you?
Yeah, I think I need a little bit more in here. I think I need to just add a bit more.
I did, and when I was in college, I went to what is it called? The arts festival. Why am I blanking on the Fringe? I went to like the Fringe.
Edinburgh?
Festival. The Edinburgh
Fringe. There's fringes all over the world, but that is the big one.
That's a big one. And we did the whiskey experience. There's like a little tour you can do that's a history of whiskey. Yeah. And I remember that we got this little thing to drink out of at the time. It was super fun. It was like they made a little ride out of it and stuff. It was great.
We frequently talk about that. We've talked about it several times on the show. I've done it. Yeah. And it's pretty cool. And there's a video on our Instagram of me in the room. They have a room of all these scotches.
Oh, you've sent me that.
Yeah. That's at the Whiskey Experience. None of those scotches, that's the biggest scotch collection, I think, in the world. None of them have been opened ever.
Whoa. That's wild. Oh my God. Hey,
I'm a crazy collector, but I like to drink my collection.
Yeah. As it should be. I heard this crazy story about a guy who bought on auction I'm making this number up, but it was something like north of $500,000 for an old bottle of wine, like super, super old bottle of wine. And the guy fucking opened it. And of course it was vinegar. I mean, that's going to happen with wine, probably more so in scotch, but why would you open a bottle of wine that's more than a couple hundred years old? Like, stupid.
That is dumb. Yeah, I got to imagine some of those, like quite a few of them are probably entirely undrinkable. And you can see some of them are so old that the bottle is like a third. There's just a third of this murky brown liquid that's separated. You know what I mean? It's like, no one's going to drink that. No one wants to drink that.
The cork is gone, and it's just let everything.
Yeah.
And as you said, GlenAndrew, the alcohol content is going to be like gone, right? There's going to be no alcohol in that anymore. It's going to be like a little.
Well, now in a bottle, does that happen? I know it happens in the casks because they breathe, but is there evaporation in a bottle?
If the cork has gone bad, if the cork is like dried up and gone loose, it happens in the bottle.
Yeah, which is something also I found to be interesting when I first got into scotches and whiskeys, because wine in the bottle ages. Whiskey in the bottle does not. It ages in the barrel before they put it in the bottle. No. But once they get it in the bottle, then it's supposed to be in kind of a state of stasis.
But one of the things I do often is like just go around and try and hold the bottle by the cork. Just try and lift it out of the case by the cork, to make sure it's still tense. Because I have had a bottle where it just went quick, and it had basically evaporated and gone bad. And I had a friend that had that happen to a black art.
Ooh.
What's a black card? Is that like a Black Lotus?
It's exactly.
Yeah, it's as rare and as expensive as a Black Lotus.
It's pretty expensive.
And you'll win all your Magic the Gathering battles with it as well. Love nerdy references.
Because I imagine the alcohol content is the first thing to evaporate, right? When it's off, so it totally changes the flavor palette, and there's like less alcohol, and so probably all the chemistry is going crazy.
Yeah, it just becomes like whiskey flavored water, and that's.
My producer is telling me, my secret producer Ash Minnick is telling me that marzipan is not crunchy.
Uh-oh.
How dare she?
Yeah. We got to re-edit this whole thing. Sorry, but we're going to re-edit this whole
We have to start over again. Thanks, Ash.
Start over. We're going to pretend that we knew what marzipan was the whole way through. Cool. Okay.
Once again, I don't expect any Americans to know what marzipan is. Like, I feel like we're,
It's only because, as you said, the Great British Bake Off. That's the only reason that anyone would know what marzipan is. And Homestar Runner.
And I know that I've had marzipan before, and I wasn't like, ooh, yum, marzipan. Like, I've never been like, oh, what a delicious thing. Like, it's just not my. Now there are people who are, but I'm not into it.
Because GlenDavid said something I need to clarify. You said Homestar Runner. Did you reference marzipan all the time?
Well,
have you seen Homestar Runner?
His girlfriend is named Marzipan.
Yeah.
So he was constantly. We don't even know what it. Just her name was Marzipan. So he's just like, Marzipan, what are you doing?